Hello, everybody. This is Joe Cherry, the founder and CEO here at Trivesta. I want to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to join this webcast and really dig deep into how to use Prospio, how to get Prospio set up through the Setup Wizard, and how to access Prospio through your back office. Right now, we're going to show you where all your Prospio tools are. I am logged into the back office as an advocate for Prospio. Everybody has a back office. When you go to the back office, you'll see this Prospio tab, and everything that you would need in order to access your Prospio accounts is available and accessible right through this Prospio tab. There's a lot of other tools that we're going to be going over at another time, your worksheet tools, your Prospio FAQ, your setup help, and your back office. The back office is going to be on a separate video, but what I wanted to review real fast before we show you how to log into your Prospio Wealth account is the worksheet tools in PDF and Excel version right here, and your FAQ. Your worksheet tool is a tool that we created. I'm going to open the PDF version. Is a tool that you want to open first and put all of your information in regarding all of your accounts, so that when you get logged into Prospio, right at your fingertips, you have accessible to you all of the information that you will need to properly set up your Prospio account in the Setup Wizard. It is very, very important that you gather all your information. A little work now will save tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future. You know, if you went and bought a treadmill, putting that treadmill together is going to take time, and getting it home is going to take time, putting it together, and then you have to get on that treadmill on regular intervals in order for the treadmill to do anything. Well, Prospio is the same way. It's going to take about an hour to an hour and a half for you to put your information in. But once you get that information in, it's only going to take you 10 to 15 minutes a week to log into your Prospio, update the information, and to go ahead and make any moves that the Prospio account recommends to you. You're going to be hearing more about what Prospio does in this live webcast from Brittany Kidman. Brittany is a resident expert on the Prospio product. We're blessed to have her conducting the training today. It's going to be very informational to you. I challenge you to listen to that. This worksheet tool, again, you're going to be putting your bank accounts, the type, the balance, your income. When does that income come in? What's the interval? Is that weekly, semi-weekly, monthly? How does that income come in? The date that it comes in, the amount that comes in, what bank it's going to, all the information on all of your debts. When you get to your monthly expenses, this is not something you need to itemize the way that we have done here. You can put it all in one line item if you like. Again, Brittany's going to be going over that with you in a few minutes. The important thing is that you complete this document and that you attend the live webcast or watch the training so that you can effectively and properly take that hour to hour and a half investment in the rest of your life, get Prospio set up, and get that information put in. This will calculate all the information that you put in for you and give you what your discretionary income is at the end of the month. So this is going to be a very important part of getting your Prospio set up. Once you have your worksheet in either the Excel or PDF completed, then what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Prospio login for your wealth account. This is going to take you to your login page. And when you get to the login page, actually, I'm sorry, it has a little bit of a disclaimer here for us. First, when you get here, it's going to let you know, welcome to Prospio. It's going to give you a little message and remind you that the ID and password that you use for Prospio are not the same ones that you use for Trivesta. You had a separate email that was sent to you that has your Prospio ID and password. If you've not received the email, you lost the email, you forgot, you can contact support via email, or obviously you can call in. But now all you're going to do is click the Go to Prospio button. When you do that, it is going to take you to the login screen to get into your Prospio Wealth account. I'm happy, once again, that you've taken the time to join this webcast to learn how to effectively Use Your Prospio product. And we're going to be handing this over to Brittany Kidman here in a moment. Thank you once again. God bless all of you. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Joe. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. When you first log into your program, it's going to go to the Setup Wizard. And the Setup Wizard is just steps 1 through 5, putting in your financial information so the program knows where you're starting. Step 1 is just putting in your basic first name, address. You will have to add a phone number by clicking the Add Phone. And we'll go ahead and put those in. And you will need to verify an email address. You cannot move on from this step without doing that. It'll just send a verification to your email, which then you will need to go to, and you can either type it in or copy and paste. And then we can move on to the next step. Step 2 is where you're going to tell the program about your bank accounts, your checking and savings, and any debts that you have. So it's going to take you right to checking. And on the name, it does not have to be anything fancy, but it is also not your name. It is the name of the account. You need to be able to identify the name or identify the account by just seeing the name that you're typing here. And then the institution is just where do you bank with. And before you hit save, you will need to go through these tabs here. Account details is we're putting in the starting balance. Now, that's not a starting balance of when you first got the account. The starting balance is today's balance, where you're starting in the program in your financial situation. And it does ask for an interest rate. Some checking accounts have them, some don't. If it doesn't, you can just put 0.0. And on the checking account, if you know your statement balance, you can go ahead and put that in, but it is not necessary on the checking or savings to have that be exactly correct. But when we get into the debts, it is extremely important. And then it's the same for the savings account. And some checking accounts do have a minor interest rate. And then once your checking and savings account are in, we can go into adding any debts that you might have. To do that, we would click Add Account, and it gives us the option to add in another bank account. So if you had more than one checking account that you paid your bills from or received income into, you would put that in here as well. Or you can go in to add a creditor or a loan or a mortgage. So we'll go ahead and start with a creditor, and we will have a credit card. We can just name this Visa. And again, the start balance is the balance as of today. And $2.56. Oh. All right. And then we do have to put in the interest rate. This is just the APR for the credit card and the credit limit. Now, down where it says select a payment setting, you have three different options. You can either say, I pay the minimum payment, I pay the last statement balance off, or I pay whatever the current balance is on the day that it's due. If you select minimum payment, you put in the minimum payment, but you also have to put in this or percentage. The or percentage is the interest rate here divided by 12 and then rounded up a decimal. So in this case, it'd be the 15.99 divided by 12, and that equals 1.3325. We would just round that up to 1.4. And then we need to select the payment date. You want to select the next payment date. So if this was due on the 10th, I wouldn't want to select November 10th because I've already paid that for this month. I'm going to go ahead and select December 10th. Now I will have to go to the Advanced tab and put in the statement date. The statement date is actually extremely important. It helps the program calculate interest. And if you're paying off the statement balance on each card, this is going to tell the program how much you need to pay on the payment date. Now, it is important that you get the exact statement date. However, if you cannot find that, or you're not sure, you can count backwards from the day that it is due 20 to 29 days. The statement date usually falls within there. Now, some credit cards do have a minimum withdrawal. Most don't. If you don't have a minimum withdrawal, you can go ahead and leave that at 0. However, some credit cards require that you purchase something of value $5 or more. If you have that, you'd go ahead and put that in there. And then it's saying paid from my primary account. The primary account is the first checking account that you entered. If you have more than one checking, you could select here which account it's paid from. However, if you don't have more than one checking or it is paid from the first checking you entered, you can just leave that as primary account. And we're going to go ahead and add in a loan as well. We can say this is our car loan. And it's with and again, the start balance is what you owe as of today. And the remaining term is how many months you have left to pay on this loan. If you're not sure, you can put in the payment amount first and guess at the terms. If this recast date shows up, the recast date is saying according to the terms that you've entered, your start balance, your interest rate, your paid amount, and how long you're going to be paying on it, this loan will not be paid off in the amount of time that you've stated. So the recast date would be what day do you start paying more, or what day do the terms of the loan change in order to get this paid off in that amount of time. If you do not have a recast date in real life, we can just increase the terms until that goes away. So this has 49 months left with these terms in order for it to get paid off. And then we would again put in the payment date. And we would also need to find the statement date. And here on the loan, it's asking what is the original balance. This tells the program how you've been doing on your own paying off this loan. And then we can go ahead and add in a mortgage. We do want to make sure that we always have the correct start balance. You don't want to be guessing or estimating once you're into the program. If you don't have the exact 100% terms when you're going through the setup wizard, you are able to make tweaks once you are done with this. Once you're actually into the program, you'll be able to edit them. The only thing you won't be able to change is the statement date and the payment date out of the current month that they're in. So at the very least, you'll need to make sure that you have those two correct. Now, where it says payment amount on the mortgage, it is asking for the principal and interest payment only. It is not asking for any insurance that's included in your mortgage payment or any escrow, taxes, anything like that. It just wants to know how much is the principal and the interest payment of this mortgage. Now, the program's going to take the escrow, the PMI, and the payment and add them together to equal your total monthly payment. Once you've entered in all of your debt and bank accounts on this page, you're going to hit Next. And that's going to take us to income verification. That's step 3. Here we're going to put in any household income that you want to include in your program. And now this is going to be net. It's not going to be before taxes, or if you have other things taken out of your check before you receive it, you're just going to include what you receive in your actual account. Mhm. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Select the next day that you're going to receive your income, and we can click Add Income if we have additional household income to include. And we can select different categories if you would like. On the income, you do want to have kind of a worst case scenario of what you're expecting to receive each month. If you're commission based, you do want to put a baseline, or if it's extremely different each month, you could do a 12-month average. Just keep in mind the program does not have rollover budgets. If you don't receive it, or you don't earn it, or you don't spend it, the program isn't planning on you earning or spending an amount to make up for that later. You can select different frequencies on your income as well: weekly, bi-weekly, and semi-monthly, monthly, or annual, or however often you get paid a certain income. Keep in mind the difference between bi-weekly and semi-monthly is that bi-weekly is every other week. Semi-monthly is 2 set days in a month. And again, you can click on Advanced Details, and if you receive an income into a different account than the primary account, you can select where that is going. You will not select an end date unless for some reason this is stopping. So if you have a temporary income that's going to end next month, you could put the end date as the last day you'll receive a check from this income. Then your program will know not to put that as a reoccurring thing on your action plan. And once you're done entering in your household income, you will hit next, and it's going to move you on to monthly discretionary. You do want to just put kind of a base number here. You don't have to be exact, as once you get into the program and you enter more information, this number will be calculated on its own. Then we're on step 5. This is the last step of the setup wizard. If you have more than one account, you are able to change which checking account is your primary. That means which account is everything defaulted to. And you can also change which savings account is your primary account. And then here, you can also select your emergency fund or your minimum balance for your savings account. The program will have suggestions for you: low, medium, high, or other. I would suggest selecting other and putting in how much you want to have in your savings account at all times. This is not to go towards extra payment towards debt, or for a vacation, or for bills. This is just going to sit in your account and do absolutely nothing in case one day you might need it. You can put in whatever number you would like. There's not necessarily a recommendation. A standard recommendation would be 3 months of bills covered in your savings account. However, the amount that you put in here, in my savings account I put $2,000, and I'm putting $1,000 as my minimum balance. That's giving the program permission to use $1,000 immediately to make an extra payment on debt. If I wanted to keep that $2,000, I could put $2,000 in this other box, and that will become the baseline 0 for my program saving account. If I want more, if I want $10,000 in my savings, I can put that. However, the program will not focus on getting you out of debt, until this savings account minimum balance is reached. I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that, and then we can hit next. And now we are actually into our program. You have the option to do an account consolidation wizard. I would not do that until your program is 100% set up. I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of that. And we're on our actual program. So we're going to go ahead and start on the accounts page. The accounts page is again where you put in your bank accounts and your debts. If on this page you notice that anything is incorrect, your balance is off, maybe you want to change the name, or maybe the payment amount isn't quite right, you can go ahead and select the edit button on the right-hand side of the screen. It's going to bring you up to that box that we were on in the setup wizard, and we can make any changes that we need to, except the payment date and statement date out of the month that there's currently in. If we need to change the payment date out of the month that it is in, we would hit skip payment, and that would move it to the next month. Once you move something forward in the program, you cannot move it backwards. Also here, you're able to select history. History will keep a compiled list of any activity the account had since it's been inside of your program. Currently, there's not going to be anything in here. It's just going to be a blank page. If you click on All Accounts History, there's one on all of the pages of the program. It's going to compile all the history for all of your accounts in one large list. However, if it involves two of your accounts, like a payment from checking to the Visa card, it will show up twice because it is pulling two different histories and putting them on one page. If you delete one of them, it will delete both of them. Here, under Add New Account, you were able to add in another account if you were to acquire another car loan or another Visa card. You do want to select Manually Add Account, and you could put in whatever account you might need to. It's the same thing we went through in the Setup Wizard. Under the Savings Account, if you click Edit on that, you are able to change that minimum balance or the emergency fund that you requested at any point. Up here at the top, these we refer to them as dashlets. Keep in mind when you first open your program, these are probably not correct as we still have information we need to give our program. But you can change what you're seeing by hovering over the plus sign. There's no right or wrong here, it's just whatever makes you feel motivated. If we go under Settings and to Profile, this is where you're able to change your username, your password, your security questions. Also, you'll want to go under Preferences, Settings and Preferences. Here's another spot where you can change your primary account or create an emergency fund. But down here at the bottom where it says Choose Your Payoff Strategy, if you have a stable income that you know exactly what you're going to get paid each month and there's no variation, you definitely want to select this one here. This is the most aggressive form for the program. It's going to have you do frequent fund transfers and save you just a little bit more interest than this one. This one down here is recommended for people who don't have stable incomes. If they're commission-based and it varies a lot, the program is a little bit more safer with the fund transfers on this level. Here under Program Focus Settings, you also have a choice to change which debt the program is focusing on. However, this is not recommended. The program is like a GPS, and it says from point A to point B in the fastest, most efficient route. That's automatic. However, you do have the option to tell it to not take the freeway, or that you want to stop here along the way. And you're able to do that. The only time I would even ever consider it would be if you owed family debt and they weren't charging you an interest rate. Obviously, the program wouldn't focus on that, but obviously it might be a little bit more important to you to get that one out of the way. Under help, you have training videos. Now, these aren't a substitute for live help, but they are going to go over some of the same things that we're going over today, just in a different way, and they're right there ready for you to click on and watch. And we're going to move on to the budget page. The budget page is where we tell the program about your income and your expenses. So the income we already put in the setup wizard, but if it ever needed to change, whether you got a raise or you got a different job, you would just click edit on that and you can change anything you need to about this. Again, once you move a date forward, you cannot move it backwards. Then down here, this is where we're going to put in our expenses. When it comes to putting in expenses, we have several different options of how we want them to be displayed in our program. The easiest, most simple way would be to leave everything as an unitemized budget. This one is a default to the program based on what you told it as your income, your debts, and what your discretionary was. This is what's left over to go towards expenses. And you can always change that. You can change the name, and you can change the amount. You do want this also to be worst case scenario. So if you had a high power bill and a high cell phone bill and a high water bill all in one month, what would be the worst case scenario for spending? And then you could go ahead and save that. We do want to leave the date as the last day of the month. That leaves us all month to spend this budget. And if you were to choose this way of doing your budget, the only things that you would need to individualize or individually add in would be things that are non-monthly. If you have car registrations, taxes, HOA fees, a water bill that you don't pay monthly, you pay them quarterly or semi-annually or annually, you have to put those in separately. You will not include them on an average inside the unitemized budget because the program does not provide a rollover budget. Once the $4,000 is spent or not spent, the program considers whatever's left over discretionary. It does not roll that over into next month's budget. So we would click on Add Expense, and we would select a category. When selecting a category, we need to select one of these large, broader categories and not one of the smaller ones that comes up on the side here. We need to select Vehicle and Transportation, not Gas and Fuel. So once I select one of these, it's going to ask me if I would like to itemize this budget. You are always going to hit yes. And then we need to give it a budget name. So this isn't a name for an exact expense, it's just the name for a category. And we can name it the same as our category name. We don't have to be creative. Then down here, we are going to put in the name of a more exact expense. I'm going to select HOA, Homeowners Association Fees. I can also name it HOA, and I'm going to say I pay $125 towards this quarterly. And I'm going to select my next date as January 1st. And then from here, if I had another bill and utility that I paid non-monthly, I could go ahead and click Add Expense and select that I pay my water bill semi-annually. And I can name it whatever I'd like. I can name it water, I can name it the company that I pay the water bill to. It's just whatever you want it to be shown as in your program. And once I save that, it's going to display in my program like this. Here, it's going to give me a 12-month average of what I'm spending from these two things. If you wanted to go through your program and itemize your budget, that is something you can do as detailed or as general as you would like. So I can tell my program from my groceries, my food and dining budget, I can tell it that I just have a grocery budget. And I can put any food expense under my groceries. Or I can add in and say that I also have groceries and I have a coffee budget and I have a restaurants and dining budget, and I can add in as many budgets as I want. However, once I select a category, I cannot select it again. I can only add to it. So I could not go in and select another bill and utility because I've already have one. But I could edit this one and add to it. Once you add a box, you can't get rid of it. You'll have to put something there. And save it. And then you can go back into it and click the blue delete. If you click the black delete, it deletes the whole thing. The blue delete will just delete the one. And if you have more than one checking account, or if you pay certain bills on a credit card, you can click Advanced Details and tell it that you pay this on your Visa each month. The program will keep track of each item that you are charging to your Visa account and have you pay that off completely, plus the minimum payment, if needed, each month. Once you've put in everything here that you wanted to itemize, if you look over to the side, it'll have your monthly income, your monthly expenses, and your average discretionary. The program at this time thinks we're going to run out of money on the 12th. That's because our unitemized budget is in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and move this 1 month forward. And that should fix our problem. There we go. Now our program is displaying correctly our monthly income, our monthly expenses, and our average discretionary. If this number here does not seem right to you, whether it's too high or too low, I would reevaluate what you put in as your expenses to make sure that those really are what you're spending on your living expenses. And when I say living expenses, the things that go on this page are not your debts. You're not putting your mortgage payment on here. You're not putting your credit card payment on here. You're putting on here your groceries and your eating out and your fun money and any bills, utilities, internet, cell phone, anything that you spend, anything that you pull out of your checking account on a routine basis. So whether that routine is monthly or semi-monthly or quarterly or semi-annually or annually, if you know it's going to come out on a same time, you need to put it into your program so your program can expect these expenses. If you transfer money between two accounts on a regular basis, like from your checking to your savings, so not a debt payment, but from checking to savings or from one checking account to another checking account, you could add in a transfer on this page. You could name the transfer, savings transfer or bill coverage or whatever you want to name it. And again, you can select from my checking to my savings and you'll just put in those details here. However, if you're one of those people that puts $25 or $50 each month into their savings account, that's wonderful. But the program won't consider that money off limits. Once you've reached your minimum balance you've requested, any money that exceeds that, the program considers that money to be able to use to get you out of debt. So if you're transferring $25 each month into that account, the program still sees that as discretionary it can use. If you have money that you put in a savings account every month and you do not want the program to touch it, ever, I would suggest putting it in an account that the program does not know about, or else the program will see it as money it can use. Your average expense budget is going to total up everything that you've put down here on a 12-month average. And then it's going to add it to your monthly debt payments to equal this total here, which is the same total here. All right, and from here, we can go ahead and move on to the action plan. The action plan is where you're going to be spending most of your time in your program. Once you have your budget set up with your worst case scenarios, and you have your account set up with all of your debts and bank accounts, you will hardly ever have to go into those pages. The accounts page you might go into once or twice a month just to make sure that everything on that page is staying up to par with what's going on in real life. Make sure your balances are accurate. But as long as you're 100% accurate on your action plan, those balances will stay accurate because anything you do on the action plan affects the balances of the accounts page. And the only time you'll ever go into the budget page once it's set up is if something major in your budget changes, such as you got a raise, or you canceled your internet, or you got a gym pass. Those things you would add in. But if this one check you got was just a little bit more, you wouldn't need to change that on the budget page. You'll do that on the action plan. So your action plan has a rolling 90-day to-do list consisting of everything you told the program and anything that the program is suggesting for you to do. You have several different colors, and these colors are telling you different things. The black is a withdrawal. That's money being pulled out of your account and disappearing to something called water. You have green, and your green is your money coming into your account. And then you have blue. Blue is a transfer between two of your accounts. So from your checking to your car loan, that's a debt payment, and that's in blue. If you have any transfers from checking to savings, that's also going to be in blue. And then you see these blue ones with red arrows. These ones are the suggestions by the program. This is the program telling you, according to what I can see with what you've told me, in your checking account, you have $800 that you are not using this month. So let's move that to your savings. It does that so you don't accidentally spend it out of your checking account, and in hopes that you gain a little bit of interest on this money as well. So typically you'll see several transfers to checking or from checking to savings before you have an extra payment. However, I did give the program permission to use the $1,000 I already had. So the program is immediately telling me from your savings account to your Visa, transfer $1,800.17 because that is what you have available to do that. Make this extra payment. However, a lot of the times you can't pay things directly from your savings. If that is the case, move it from your savings to your checking and then to your Visa, but we don't need to tell the program that the money stopped in our checking account. So we would just execute that it came from savings to Visa. Then later on we see again from checking to savings for $397.48 and then checking the savings again. And it's building up our savings account to make an extra transfer again in the future. It's not going to have you make extra payments every single month. It's not going to have you put extra on your debt when you make your payment. So it's not going to have me put a $500 payment instead of a $425 payment on my car loan. It's going to make totally separate principal-only payments. And it's going to build up to a large lump sum number for those. Now, when you do things in real life, your program isn't just going to automatically move forward. We need to tell it that we paid this or that we received this money And how we do that is by clicking on the action and clicking the word execute. That's going to bring up this box. The very first thing you're going to do is change the day if the day differs from what you've put in your program. So if I really paid this on Friday, and maybe it wasn't $200, maybe it was $198.74. There we go. We need to put in on our action plan exact amounts. Our budget page, that's just what we're worst case scenario going to spend. On our action plan, this is to the penny what I spent, what I earned, this is what's happening. Once we've done that, you're going to hit Final Transaction. Final Transaction is telling the program, I am done with this item until the next time I told you it would happen. I believe I selected the water bill to be semi-annual. So I'm telling this, I'm done with this until 6 months from now. And then when I hit execute, it's going to take it off of my action plan. It's going to update my account balance. And if I look in my history, it's going to display there. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe it was really $196. All I need to do is edit, and I can change that amount and save it. And my program will just update. And again, when you receive your income, you're going to be doing the same thing. You cannot execute something in the future. We're not time travelers. We can't go into the future and pay a bill and then come back to today. So the program is not going to allow you to pay something that hasn't been done yet in real life. You only want to tell the program things that have been done. On your unitemized budget, if you chose to set up your program this way, or if you chose to itemize it, it's going to work the same way. You're going to come into the program maybe once a week, which I would suggest at least coming in once a week, and you're going to tell it from the last time I was inside my program until now, what have I done? What have I paid? What have I earned? What have I spent? And you're just going to go down your list and tell the program what's happened. When it comes to an unitemized budget, you're not going to spend $4,000 in one day or 1 week if that is your whole month's budget. You're going to select the day that you're in the program. And you're going to say, from the last time I was in the program until today, what have I spent out of this budget? Maybe you spent $247.75. You're not going to hit Final Transaction on this because you're not done with it for the month. You still have the rest of this month to spend from this budget. You still have this much to spend out of your budget. You're not done with it, so you're not going to hit Final Transaction. But when I hit execute, it's still going to update my program. It's going to update the amount in my accounts, and it's going to put the remaining amount of my budget on the action plan. I still have $2,752.25 to spend. Then when I come in here again next week, I will select the day as the 19th, and I'll put in how much I spent. And again, I'm not going to hit Final Transaction. And then it will put, once again, the remaining amount of my balance for this budget on my action plan. When you come in here for the last time for the month, whether that's the 26th or the 30th or however you choose to do it, you will hit Final because you're telling the program, I'm done with this month's budget, move me on to next month's budget. And then this time when you hit execute, it's going to take it off of your action plan. If for some reason you've worked overtime, or you know that you're getting a little bit of extra money this check, but you haven't received it yet, you can come in and tell your program, I'm really receiving this much this check, and I am going to save that to my action plan. So I'm not checking final, I'm not changing the date, I'm just changing the amount. I know I'm going to receive a different amount. I received a little bit of overtime this week, and I'm going to save that to my action plan. It doesn't execute anything. It doesn't tell the program I've actually done anything. It's just saying we're changing the plan this one time. It changed my check on the 14th, but it did not change my check for December. Now, if I come in and I'm like, you know what, I didn't use the rest of my unitemized budget. I don't need this. I can go ahead and delete it. Or if you forget to hit final transaction and it leaves a 0 on your action plan, you can go ahead and delete it. It's not going to change anything that you've already executed or change any this month's budget. It's just taking this budget and saying, I'm not using it. True cost. If you select this, any item that appears in black will have a true cost button underneath it. Most of the time, true cost is pointless. It's clutter on your action plan. However, there are a few instances where it would be nice to see. What true cost does is tell you if you could avoid spending this money, this is how much you'll knock off your debt. Not only the $4,000 that you're not spending on your budget, but that you're putting on debt, but also $375.01 off of interest that you won't have to pay for our bills and our groceries. We can't do that. But if you wanted to buy a new grill, for instance, that might be something you might be interested in seeing to see how much it's really costing you. Now, things in our life, we like to think that they happen as we plan, but things happen outside of our budget. Sometimes they're positive. We get bonus checks or tax refunds, or someone gives us some gift money. But sometimes they're negative as well. We have to buy a new furnace, or the dog had to go to the vet. We still have to tell the program about these things that happen, but we can't put them on the budget page because those are for only things that reoccur. So we have this Add New Action button. This is for things that happen once or happen sporadically, and we can't put it as a reoccurring. When I click Add New Action, it's going to give me the option to enter a deposit, a withdrawal, or a transfer. I can say I received extra money, a bonus check, tax refund, gift money. Or I withdrew more money than usual. I went on vacation, or I'm planning a vacation, or I took the dog to the vet. I got a new windshield. Or I moved money between accounts on my own. I made an extra payment on my own accord, or I moved money to savings. You did transfer. So you would just select whichever one corresponds to the situation, and you'll tell it which account did it come from when it's a withdrawal. Maybe you paid it from savings, maybe you put it on your card, maybe you paid it from checking. And what did it go to? Now I can say 3 days ago, I took the dog to the vet. Or I can say in 6 months from now, I'm going to Disneyland. As soon as you know of an expense, I would suggest putting it on to your program. So your program can adjust its numbers and adjust suggestions planning for this expense or this extra income. And then the amount, you want to put either what you've already spent. So if you went to the emergency room, you're obviously not going to put that into the program before you go. So you'll come in and say, I spent $50 or $200 copay at the emergency room. Or if you're going to Disneyland, you can say, I'm planning on spending $3,000. And then you'll select a category. On the category, there's no right and there is no wrong. It is just what makes sense to you. In this case, this is a travel. And then when I save that, it's going to put it on my action plan with all of my other expenses blending right in. And if you watch, it's going to probably change my years to pay off. It did by a month, and it took those suggestions away because your program is planning on you spending $3,000 in a few months. And it's just going to sit here down at the bottom of your action plan until the time comes for it to move up in its 3-month period. Now this isn't happening. Oh darn, we're going to go ahead and delete that, and our program will again readjust. Your program is always actively thinking. Anytime you navigate pages, anytime you save something or execute something or add in something in, your program is reevaluating your financial situation in order to give you the most accurate payoff date, suggestions, anything else. Now, there is a reports tab. The only things I would even suggest looking at on this page would be the budget and the search. If you have an itemized budget where you've itemized everything, or you choose to tag your items, which when you execute, I'll show you that real quick, you can tag it as tax deductible or vacation or child support or anything else if you want to add in your own tag. And then you can go to report and you can search anything that you executed that involved a certain tag or a certain category, or if you put in a memo on those, you can go ahead and search it and it'll just pull up one large list of anything related to that category or tag or memo that you put in. And then on budget, there's not going to be anything right now, but it's just going to show you some graphs that show you this is what you're spending, this is what you're earning, here's a percentage, and here's a pie chart. Not anything super important, doesn't help you get out of debt any faster, but there's pretty graphs to look at. And I do believe I have gone over everything. Joe, if we want to go ahead and start our Q&A, I do believe I am ready.
Thank you, Brittany. So this is what we're going to do. We have a lot of people that are in the room. If you have a question, please type in the chat box down below. We'll unmute you and give you an opportunity to get those questions that you have answered. So again, if you have questions, just please type in the chat box and we'll unmute you so that you can ask that question. Man, Brittany, you did a fabulous job. I don't see anybody typing any questions in there in the chat box below.
I can't see the chat box, Joe.
I'm sorry?
I can't see the chat box.
Somebody entered that is, it's John Ward. Oh, is that you, John?
This is John Ward. Hello, Joe.
Hey, buddy. Just go ahead. For some reason, it didn't have you muted. I thought we had everybody muted, but it's okay. It's great. John, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, no, I unmuted myself just to let you know. On my screen, I don't see the chat box. I hope everybody else can see the chat box, but I wasn't able to find it. So
you are able. You can click on my name, and you'll be able to send me a chat if you can't find the chat box.
Okay. I wanted to make sure others could reach it. Okay, well, thank you very much. Fantastic presentation. It's really, really cool. I got a quick question. I guess I'm not unique. I started the program some months ago and kind of bailed. Well, I didn't bail on it, but I failed on it. I didn't keep up with it. I'm very eager to get back to it. But now my action plan is populated with actions from June and July of this year. What's the simplest way for me to sort of clean house and get up and update it so that it starts from November and not June?
So the easiest way to do that, and I'll show you on the screen, would be to select month. And then you can execute multiple actions. You can do this even if you're not trying to catch up and you just want to execute 1 month at a time. And you can execute all of those actions at once. And if you're trying to get it caught up, I wouldn't worry about what really happened. I would just hit select all for final transaction and execute all of those actions until the current month. Then once you've done that, I would go into the accounts page and update your balances and make sure that your budget page still applies. And then you should be good to go. You only have to do that a few times if you're just a couple months behind.
That sounds good. Thank you.
I could tell you why, John, you were unable to chat. It appears that I had in the options the chat button off. Everybody should be able to chat. So once again, I'll ask if you have questions, please send a message in the chat box and we can unmute you. And that way we'll make sure everybody gets their questions answered. So hopefully people see a chat box now. John, do you see a chat box now?
No.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it appeared. So
Okay, great.
I'm glad now others can reach you too.
Great. Thank you, John. Man, it's great hearing your voice, John. We'll catch up later. Everybody that's on the call, I apologize. I didn't have the chat box open, so I'll ask again. If you have a question, please send a message for chat and we'll unmute you. Or I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. You might be able to just to click on the little phone.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Ivy. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ivy. We
Yes,
do
we can.
hear you.
Okay, great. So I was able to unmute myself. I do not see the chat box, but that's okay. My question was, and this is actually from a potential member that wants to join. She wanted to know if, and I know this is a strange question, but she wanted to know if the lenders would amortize her payment. So she's doing the bi-monthly, for example. Would you be able to answer that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. I guess when they make the adjustments, when the lender is actually making the adjustments of saying what the balances will be going forward, so she makes a bi-monthly payment, for example, on her mortgage. She wanted to know if she asked the lender, will you accept my payments on a bi-monthly basis? And the lender says yes, if they actually amortize it regarding the principal being reduced based on her payments. I don't know if that's any clearer.
They will not. So the way that would work is it's according to the contract that you signed. If she called them and said, I want to pay bi-monthly, and they allowed her to do so, they cannot give her a new amortization schedule for that, because what she's committed to or bound to pay is according to the contract that she signed. So she bought a home, let's say for 30 years, she has a payment on the 1st. If she calls them and says, I want to make payments on the 15th, and they accept that and they're allowing her to do that, that's not something she's legally bound to. She may next month have something come up and choose not to. The only way to have that prepared where they'll redo that is she'd have to do a whole new loan and a whole new closing, where now it's mandatory that she's making that payment either on the 1st or the 15th, and they would redo the loan, and now she has to make those payments. So that's the only way to have an institution re-amortize your schedule for you, is you have to initiate a whole new loan.
Okay, perfect. But we see that it's amortized through our system, so I think that's all we would need, correct?
You do. You see that it's through your system, and you can see it from them. It's just you'd have to call them to get that info, or if they're sending you monthly statements. You know, some banks send monthly statements. Others require that you log in every month to see what your balance is. You'll be able to see it. It's just not that they're just not going to give you a whole new amortization schedule, but you'll see it happening live if you log into your account.
Okay, great. I do have one more question. I don't want to take up too much time. Someone had asked me if they can do a bi-monthly for a student loan.
So that is depending on what type of loan you got. You know, there's different types of loans based on, are you going into school for the first time? Is your loan because you went back to school and got some type of special grant? You know, you're in your 30s or 40s. So each different loan is specific to who gave you that loan and how you got it. It's not something that we can answer in general.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just real quick, inside the program, it cannot do biweekly payments. So you can't tell the program that you pay a debt every other week. However, if that's something that you do, you can put the payment date as the last day in the month, or the last day that you would ever make your second payment towards that debt for the total amount, and you wouldn't execute that loan payment in your program until both portions have been paid.
Okay. I think I got that. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I see that Carrie typed in a question about how the program prompts you to pay your bills. So the program has the action plan that shows you a list of what you told the program to expect and anything the program is suggesting. The program is going to want you to pay your debts and your bills as you normally do. It doesn't want you to make anything late or anything like that, just pay your normal car loan, your normal bills, utilities, internet, anything, just pay those on the day that they're actually due. And then the program will prompt you with the red arrows when to make transfers or when to make extra payments on those debts.
Carrie, we have you unmuted. If you have a question you actually want to ask instead of typing in, did that get your question answered? I guess so.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions?
There is a question from Ray.
Oh, I see Susan.
And he's asking if using the lock method rather than checking your savings method, will the update of the program be the same as explained? So pretty much it is the same. The difference is going to be that everything's going in and out of the lock, the HELOC, or the line of credit instead of the checking or savings. And there's not going to be any transfers from the HELOC or from the checking to the savings. These transfers will just be gone because by putting your income into the lock, it's going to automatically have that extra $1,198.60 available to you. It's going to have you make extra payments out of the HELOC or the lock instead of out of the savings account. So it's almost the exact same except for it's involving just the HELOC instead of the checking and savings.
Great question.
Now, when using a HELOC, not everyone has the option of doing that, even if they do have a HELOC, because it does have to be a large enough HELOC in order to handle any discretionary and income and bills that you have without being close to maxing out.
Great. I have some questions on my screen. I don't know if you're seeing those questions there here. I saw Carrie's. We had a question from Steve Cunningham Jr. as well. You may want to direct newbies to show them where the chat. Thanks, Steve. Yep, I already got that. Chat should be down under attendees. It should be a little bit of an arrow for you newbies. That's I love that. So you do have a chat box button down under where it shows attendees. There should be a chat box. Thanks, Steve. Carrie, we got your question answered. There was a question from Susan Russell. How would you do a reverse mortgage? Would you recommend doing that? Before we answer the question, let me answer the second one. We don't give recommendations on finances. It is outside the realm. We're not here to be financial advisors because we don't want to be held liable for not knowing the whole situation, giving you a recommendation you follow, and then you're going to call us 6 months from now and say, oh, that was a horrible recommendation because we were unaware of all of your circumstances. So we're here to make sure that you're utilizing the system. We'll give you recommendations about the system, but we'll never tell you how to spend your money outside the recommendations that the program makes for you. But how do you do a reverse mortgage in this system? The system's not a reverse mortgage. When you do that, a reverse mortgage is going to set up a different payment schedule for you, no different than what a mortgage is. Is that true, Brittany, the way that we enter it, correct? It just be as a standard mortgage, even though you were funded out, you're making a payment off that reverse mortgage, and it might be coming in depending on how you got the reverse mortgage as a one-time, or maybe you're getting monthly off of that. Is that correct?
Well, reverse mortgage, it depends. Yes and no. So if you have a reverse mortgage, you paid off your mortgage, and your bank is buying it back from you, you would add that in as an income because that's money you're receiving. But if you just did it one time, you would add that in as like a one-time expense. It depends on exactly what the terms are of the reverse mortgage. If you still owe something on your mortgage and getting a reverse mortgage, just that one time to increase the balance, I would assume that would be a one-time action, and you would just have to edit the account balance.
Correct. Okay. Thank you, Brittany. Next question, John Ward. Is it a bad idea to add to your mortgage principal every month? Should I just wait for the program to instruct me?
Is it a bad idea? No. Always paying extra is a great idea. However, the program might be able to instruct you in a better way to apply principal. Maybe your mortgage isn't costing you the most interest. Maybe it is, but the program will be able to tell you that, and it will be able to help you put it on a specific day. So it might, maybe putting it on 2 weeks before your actual payment is due is going to save you that 2 weeks of interest. So the program might have better ideas for you.
I'd like to speak in that. Remember, everybody, this program uses the same types of algorithms that the banks and the finance company use. It's the quickest way to build wealth, the quickest way to eliminate interest, or in the banks, make interest off of you. So if you choose to add additional money to a debt, you're doing it the way you've always done it. You're not allowing the system to educate you on the fastest way to make that happen. It's a true GPS type of system. So what you'll want to do is add, if you have extra money, let the system know you have that extra money and let it tell you where you instruct you where you should apply that extra dollars to, John.
All right, and I see a question from David. He's asking where to find a color chart explaining the amounts on the action plan section. So there isn't necessarily a color chart that says blue means this and green means this, but I do believe you could find under Guide to the Action Plan, under the training videos, that's going to tell you what the colors mean. But there's not just a cheat sheet that says what colors are which. I hope that's what you were asking.
Is there any differences? There's no name on this one. It says, are there any differences using our program with an adjustable versus conventional loan? No.
No, I don't believe so.
No, there isn't. Yeah. You have to put the loan specifics in. When you're putting the loan specifics in, whether it's an adjustable loan or whether it's a conventional loan, all you'll have to do, though, if you'd like to show them how to do that, Brittany, is you will have to adjust the interest rate as you're informed that the interest rate has changed. So if you put the loan in at a 4.75 and then it adjusts, you are going to have to make those changes.
Yep. So you would just go to the accounts page on your Prospio account, and if your home loan has a variable rate, whenever that changes, or when any of the terms changes, you would just go in, update that to whatever it changed to, and save it.
And the new payment that would be associated with it, because your payment will change along with your interest rate.
Yep. And if you have a credit card that has a 0% balance or a 0% interest rate for 12 months or 18 months, you would put in the rate as 0.0, and then when that came due to start the interest, you would do the same thing. You just come in here and update it and save it.
Big money.
Let me see here. There was somebody there who was asking a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Big Money Lloyd. Big
Money Lloyd. How are you, buddy?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Incredible job, Brittany. Just a couple of quick questions. The access to replay the training, and I need to get caught up. My link didn't work, so I was only able to listen in. So how do I get what you have on your screen, and is this going to be useful again in the future? Thank you.
It is. I'm recording the entire session. We're going to edit it afterwards, clean it up, make sure it's clean, and make it available to everybody so you'll always be able to reference it. And then we're going to have live ones like this maybe once a month. maybe once every 2 weeks, but we're going to start doing these consistently as people are coming on board. We want to get people actively as soon as they're getting enrolled in the system. The first couple of weeks, make sure that they have all of this answered. If they have more questions off of the, if they can't get it from watching the recorded version, they can always get in the live version. And that way, obviously, with the live version, you have an opportunity to have Q&A. And then, of course, not just at our live version Q&A, but you can always call into support and have Q&A with them Monday through Friday as well.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. Real fast, Brittany, there might be a couple on your screen. Let me blow through these. Carrie, is the amount on your call to action. So the arrows are your call to action. Correct. Those are your execute. Those are what the system is recommending that you do. Remember, the system does nothing with your accounts, your money, nothing. It's taking the information you've given it, and it's telling you the absolute fastest way to eliminate interest and build wealth and get rid of those debts. So that call to action, sometimes it may tell you, for example, if it is best for you to have 2 payments on a particular debt and when to send those payments. Correct. It's going to tell you, follow the system as closely as you can, because remember, the system doesn't act off of emotion. The system doesn't act off of assumptions. The system acts off of math, and math never lies. You hear me say that all the time. If the system's telling you to do it, it is the best decision given your situation at that time. If you don't do it, you may still get a benefit by paying something else, but if the system didn't tell you to do it, it's not the best benefit. And it's kind of what Brittany went back to. If you want to pay a family member off first, even though the system's not telling you to because they're a family member and they need the money, then do that. But that's not the fastest way to pay off debts. It may be the fastest way for you to stay in good graces with your family, but that's completely outside the program. So. Do you have any other questions on your screen, Brittany, you need to go through?
I don't see any other questions on my side.
Okay, we're going to take just another opportunity here for people to have their questions answered. If you have a question, please right now speak up, or as they say, forever hold your peace. All right, I don't see any additional questions. Brittany, we want to thank you so much for doing a wonderful presentation today. I want to thank everybody that has been on this webcast for taking the time. Make sure that you understand your Prospio so that you can share it with others. For those of you that are advocates, for those of you that are members, make sure you're using the Prospio tool. The Prospio tool, the wealth account, is a real program that gives real solutions. If you would just take 10 to 15 minutes a week. If you're looking at your screen right now, you see, look at November. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things it's going to do, and there's only one execution. You can literally only log in 10 to 15 minutes a week, and that's all that you need to do this system. It's not like it has 100 different items. At the end of the week, you could get in. You could, as Brittany had said, maybe you want to put in, you spent some extra dollars, you went to dinner. You could literally log in and in about 15 seconds to 30 seconds, put in the fact that you spent some extra dollars on dinner that wasn't in your budget. Or your daughter's going to get married 3 months from now, and you need to put that $3,000 she put for Disney, you need to put it in as something to prepare for up the road. It only takes you a minute to put that in. So there's not a lot of time you got to put into this program, but the time the program will save you in interest payments and getting, and in saving for your life and building wealth is phenomenal compared to the amount of time you got to put in. So use the system, be complete with the information. And as always, God bless all of you and have a wonderful day. We're going to go ahead and call an end to this webcast. Brittany, thank you once again. We'll catch you all on the next presentation.